The contradictions continued to mount. Blake's portrayal of emotional trauma conflicts with her public actions, such as joking on SNL, delivering texts of kindness and gratitude to Justin, and engaging in everyday professional interactions that contradict claims of sustained harassment. This disconnect has fueled public skepticism and complicated the legal narrative as observers struggle to reconcile the severity of her allegations with the behaviors documented in messages, texts, and public appearances. Additionally, Blake's apparent attempts to involve other co-stars, including Jenny Slate and Isabella Farah, further muddy the waters, with reports indicating that Jenny's HR complaint was unrelated to Justin and focused on minor grievances about her rented apartment and interactions with executives. Isabella, meanwhile, has openly praised Justin as a professional and supportive director, making it difficult to substantiate her role as a witness against him without implying undue influence from Blake. Collectively, these factors, public performances, conflicting texts, expanded lawsuits, alleged billionaire threats, and co-star involvement, paint a complex, messy, and highly scrutinized legal situation where Blake's narrative is increasingly questioned, and the interplay between celebrity influence, personal relationships, and legal strategy is under the microscope. All while the trial is set for March 2026, promising a drawn-out, high-profile dispute with no immediate resolution in sight. Blake Lively's latest drama with Justin Baldoni is becoming increasingly messy, exposing contradictions and raising questions about how much influence she really had over the project. The biggest point of contention is how Blake, as an actor with only an honorary producer credit and no real decision-making authority, managed to screen her own cut of the film before the actual director even saw the final version. This has led many to believe she manipulated the situation to her advantage, using her star power to shape the narrative in her favor. Blake's old Forbes interview resurfaced, where she admitted to hiding her ambition for creative control while pretending to be just an actress in meetings, which fueled criticism that she prioritized her own fulfillment over the film's success. Justin accused her of undermining his authority on set, providing evidence that she demanded changes but remained dissatisfied regardless. In her lawsuit, Blake alleged inappropriate behavior during a scene. Yet Justin counteracted with raw footage showing he was in character and interacting normally throughout, contradicting her initial claims that the scene was completely unscripted, later adjusting to say it was improvised, a common practice in acting. Critics argue her reactions were unprofessional and exaggerated, and speculation has emerged around Ryan Reynolds' influence, with claims that he once discouraged Blake from acting and was accused of staging a fake paparazzi moment with fans holding identical posters and no phones in sight. Blake's lawsuit also accused Justin of taking credit for the film while downplaying her contributions, despite reports that she repeatedly forced her creative decisions. In interviews, she often shifted focus to herself, from discussing her fashion choices to interrupting others, creating the perception that she manipulated situations to paint herself as a victim while sidelining others. Contradictions abound, including her own statements about sexiness. She allegedly ranted to Justin about wanting her character to be sexier, then claimed she felt ogled when he used the word sexy in the context of a practical scene involving a onesie and a coat on a 90-degree set with no AC. Yet she had no problem using the term herself in interviews and in promoting other projects like A Simple Favor, convincing the studio that women's suits could be hot and sexy. Further inconsistencies appear in her private communications. In April 2023, Blake texted Justin about her love language being playful and bold, emphasizing that his reciprocation was important. Yet she later accused him of harassment for simply directing the film, while Justin kept the conversation professional and redirected it to the work at hand. In a 2024 Vogue interview, Blake admitted she doesn't enjoy creating from scratch, but prefers to tweak others' work, describing it as a treasure hunt, which aligns with criticism that she pushed for creative control on It Ends With Us without being hired in that role. Contradictions also arise regarding Colleen Hoover. Blake first claimed she had never heard of Colleen before being offered the project. later saying she was excited because of Colleen's involvement. Colleen initially posted a heartfelt Instagram in support of Blake, but recently deactivated her account and removed all mentions of her, further adding to the confusion. Overall, the inconsistencies in Blake's public statements, private messages, and legal claims, including accusations of undermining Justin, manipulating production decisions, and demanding creative control, suggest a carefully orchestrated attempt to assert dominance in Hollywood, but one that has not gone as planned. Fans and insiders are left questioning whether this lawsuit is a genuine call-out or a calculated performance by someone framing themselves as the victim when situations don't align with their desires. With so many deleted receipts, altered accounts, and shifting narratives, the public is left to sift through conflicting stories, weighing Blake's intentions against documented evidence, while the broader industry watches the fallout, highlighting how personal ambition, celebrity influence, and professional dynamics collide in high-profile projects. Ultimately, this situation exposes the deep contradictions in Blake's narrative, where claims of trauma, harassment, and creative ambition intertwine with public perception, family dynamics, and legal maneuvering, leaving observers to wonder if the lawsuit is truly about accountability or simply a strategic play for power, attention, and control in an environment where star influence can dramatically alter outcomes, but also where the truth becomes increasingly difficult to discern amid media scrutiny, celebrity PR, and courtroom theatrics, making this one of the most complex and controversial disputes in recent Hollywood memory. Little did anyone realize that Ryan's skit would quickly spiral into a PR disaster, casting doubt on Blake's claims and making people question the authenticity of her narrative. If the allegations were truly as severe as she stated, why was her own husband turning the situation into a comedic sketch? Even Justin's lawyer called it out, pointing out that he was unaware of any spouse who had been harassed and then joked about it publicly, raising serious questions about the seriousness of the trauma Blake was presenting. Lorne Michaels, a veteran of SNL since 1975, confirmed that Ryan deliberately changed his joke at the last minute to reference the lawsuit, proving this was not a spontaneous remark, but a calculated decision to lean into the drama. Meanwhile, Blake has been portraying the lawsuit as causing extreme emotional distress, not only for herself, but also for Ryan and their children. If true, this could mean their mental health records might be subpoenaed during court discovery to substantiate these claims. Yet, despite these assertions of trauma, Blake and Ryan were on SNL, joking, laughing, and performing as if nothing had happened, leaving their children, and the public, equally bewildered about why such serious claims were being treated lightly in public. According to the amended lawsuit, Blake and others had been keeping receipts since May 2023. On May 24th, Blake texted a mutual friend of Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath, venting about workplace drama, and saying she had come home and cried, describing Baldoni and Heath as creeps, and ranting with phrases like, "keep your hormones to yourself," and "I don't want your gaze or words or tongue or videos of your naked wife," which just 2 days later, on May 26th, she officially reported to Sony executive Janet Tamaro. The lawsuit states Justin acknowledged these complaints in writing, and within the next 3 days, another female cast member came forward regarding Justin's behavior, creating a timeline that looks increasingly complex and contradictory. Justin's lawsuit claims that Blake habitually threatened to leave the project whenever she wanted more leverage, forcing compliance with her demands to keep production moving. While Blake's revised lawsuit counters with a defamation claim, accusing the defendants of smearing her name since her initial complaint, and expanding the list of defendants to include crisis PR manager Jed Wallace, who has ties to Justin's lawyer and PR team, adding another layer of drama, Blake's lawsuit alleges that Wayfair co-founder Steve Sauchi made deeply concerning threats, claiming he would protect the studio with extreme force and referencing multiple casualties to emphasize his point, even reportedly saying there would be 2 dead bodies minimum, although he may have meant it figuratively. Previously, Blake alleged Sauchi was willing to spend $100 million to ruin her life and that of her family, blurring the line between real life and a movie plot. While these alleged comments are alarming, they are largely unrelated to the claims against Justin, suggesting Blake might be attempting to take down the entire Wayfair company. Justin, conversely, argues that he had to rely on his billionaire friend for legal protection when Blake's claims, lacking solid evidence, threatened to bury him in legal fees and force a settlement. Reviewing the texts and timeline, it appears Blake may have been orchestrating this movie takeover from the start, keeping complaints on record almost as if setting up for this moment. However, filing a complaint does not automatically validate a case. Initially, some may have sympathized with Blake, but a closer look reveals inconsistencies. For example, in her first lawsuit, Blake claimed Justin barged into her trailer uninvited while she was breastfeeding. Yet, Justin provided text receipts showing she had invited him in, a claim conveniently omitted in the amended lawsuit. Instead, Blake shifted focus to creative control over the film, even presenting emails from Sony executives to support her version of events. But she strategically left out repeated threats to leave the production whenever she sought more control, using her star power to manipulate both Justin and Sony. Ultimately, these tactics proved effective, as Justin largely acquiesced to her demands to prevent losing her, highlighting a consistent pattern of leveraging influence over collaboration.
Oh, the Justin and Blake situation is getting messier by the day. And now we've learned that Blake was allegedly ready to leave Ryan for none other than Justin, with leaked text messages surfacing online painting a dramatically different picture of Blake and Ryan's supposedly perfect marriage. Things are certainly not looking good. So, what really happened? And how did Justin Baldoni end up in the middle of all this? First, the lawsuits. As everyone knows, Blake recently updated her claims, but so far her case seems to be unraveling. She's working hard to make her accusations stick, yet the more she speaks, the less credibility people give her. Justin has already presented evidence contradicting her statements, showing that she not only twisted facts, but in some cases outright lied about hard evidence. For instance, Blake claimed there was no intimacy coordinator on set, only for Justin to provide proof that she refused to meet with the coordinator, forcing him to go over intimate scenes with her himself, a move she later labeled inappropriate. Another example involves her harassment allegations. She accused Justin simply because he complimented her scent, which came right after she admitted to spraying herself during a tan session, making it seem as though she was fishing for compliments rather than actually being harassed. These revelations have significantly damaged the narrative Blake is attempting to construct. Well, it's not bad. It's my body makeup. Now, in what seems like a desperate attempt to save face, Blake's updated lawsuit is relying heavily on two female co-stars allegedly backing her up, essentially implying that if she's going down, she's taking others with her. A spokesperson for Blake claimed that the lawsuit doesn't name these witnesses publicly to protect their privacy. But The Hollywood Reporter revealed that the two women in question are Jenny Slate, a seasoned actress, and Isabella Farah, a newcomer whose big debut is already being overshadowed by this legal drama. Blake's team insists these women have supposedly given permission for their texts to be shared in the lawsuit and will support her if called to testify. The updated complaint also claims that Blake wasn't the only one experiencing misconduct, alleging that multiple people faced threats, harassment, and intimidation on set. But looking closer, Jenny Slate's HR complaint has nothing to do with Justin. She was upset about her New York City apartment during filming. Reports say Wayfair executive Jaime Heath allegedly made her uncomfortable while discussing her security deposit, though he claimed he was simply trying to help, and some of his comments about motherhood were misconstrued. Meanwhile, Isabella has openly praised Justin as a director, repeatedly texting him after filming Wrapped, saying he created a safe, welcoming space where she could fully step into her role, calling it a life-changing experience and attaching sentimental photos, making it confusing that she's now listed as a witness against him. Many believe Blake may have influenced Isabella, turning her perspective against Justin, which wouldn't be the first time Blake has allegedly done this. Back in 2008, she admitted in an interview to having poisoned the Gossip Girl cast against Penn Badgley when she was upset about his hiring.
only to backtrack once everyone realized he was actually professional. There were also reports about Armie Hammer, who, despite his own controversies, had conflicts with Blake, calling her unbearable to work with, and rumors even suggested she had contributed to his firing, further adding to the pattern of alleged manipulative behavior. Suspiciously, Blake's lawsuit also claims that on June 8, 2023, another co-star told her she struggled to communicate with Justin, to which Blake allegedly replied that she too struggled, but covered it up with busyness, invoking trauma bonding and suggesting they were survivors of shared trauma. Yet the very next day, June 9th, Blake was texting Justin about getting him a hot matcha. And on June 10th, after a rough production week, she thanked him for giving 110% despite everything going on, responding that she appreciated his empathy and reciprocated it. The contradiction between claiming trauma and simultaneously providing gestures of kindness raises serious questions about the narrative she's presenting. The lawsuit appears increasingly fragile, with a judge setting the trial date for March 2026 and no attempts at mediation from either side, leaving the case poised to drag on for years, with Justin's lawyer already criticizing Blake's revised complaint, calling it full of unsubstantial hearsay and highlighting that people who initially supported her claims are now stepping back, which, given the documented facts, seems understandable. Meanwhile, the only clear evidence Blake seems to have is Ryan Reynolds joking about the situation during the SNL 50th anniversary special, which, given the serious nature of the allegations, reflects poorly on her credibility. Overall, the combination of alleged manipulation of co-stars, conflicting texts, and reliance on celebrity influence rather than concrete evidence have left Blake's case looking increasingly tenuous, and the public is closely watching as the once private legal dispute spirals into a high-profile spectacle, raising broader questions about accountability, perception, and the interplay between celebrity culture and legal strategy, all while the personal dynamics between Blake, Ryan, Justin, and other actors continue to complicate an already messy situation, demonstrating how power, influence, and personal relationships intersect in ways that blur the line between professional boundaries and personal vendettas, leaving fans and insiders alike speculating about the true sequence of events, the motivations behind the claims, and the eventual outcome of a case that seems destined to be drawn out over years with no immediate resolution. And as the months pass, it becomes increasingly clear that Blake's reliance on her public persona, celebrity friends, and selective witness accounts may not be enough to sustain a narrative that stands up under scrutiny, making the unfolding legal battle not just a story about alleged misconduct, but also a cautionary tale about influence, image, and the complications of navigating fame, friendship, and professional obligations in Hollywood's high-stakes environment. Brian Reynolds, how's it going? Great. Why? What have you heard? Little did Ryan realize that his skit would quickly spiral into a full-blown PR disaster, casting doubt on Blake's entire narrative. If Blake's claims were truly as serious as she alleges, why would her own husband transform them into a comedic sketch? Even Justin's lawyer publicly addressed the issue, noting that he was unaware of any spouse being harassed who would then have jokes made about the situation, emphasizing that it raises questions about the legitimacy of the trauma being portrayed. Furthermore, Lorne Michaels, a veteran of SNL since 1975, confirmed that Ryan deliberately altered his joke at the last minute to reference the lawsuit, proving this was not a spontaneous, off-the-cuff remark. Instead, Ryan consciously chose to lean into the drama, turning what could have been a sensitive topic into entertainment, which only fueled public skepticism regarding Blake's claims and highlighted how personal and legal matters were being publicly trivialized in the guise of humor. Actually, he had a different line in rehearsal, and he pitched that to replace it. So that was his idea to do it. They wouldn't want to do anything too controversial unless they were in on it. So yeah, that was his idea. That was his line. That was his idea.